Welcome back to Money in Tech. We're here with Jay Severson.
Thanks for having me.
Founder, CEO of Gambit.com. So Jay, why don't you tell us a little bit about Gambit?
Sure. Gambit is an online multiplayer Bitcoin platform. We allow people to come to the site and they can choose from a variety of classic games. And basically every time you win a game on the platform, you earn a little bit of Bitcoin for your wins. So our games are all skill-based. As you build up a balance of Bitcoins on the site, you can then kind of make wagers against other players if you want to actually earn a little bit more. So we offer, right now, 7 different games. We have a few in the works, but classic games that are kind of the likes of Monopoly. We call it Bitnopoly. We have a battleship-like game and a few other games like backgammon. We're adding things like yahtzy and dominoes and other classic games. So,
excellent.
Yeah.
So do you have to pay with Bitcoin to play?
No, you can come on, play for fun, play for free if you don't have any Bitcoin. I'd say most of the people that come to our site actually don't own any Bitcoin at all. We've had a lot of people in our chat room. There's a chat room on the homepage where you can engage with other people and ask them questions. And a lot of people are like, what is Bitcoin? So a lot of our people aren't familiar with Bitcoin at all. They come on, they play for free and just play for fun. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, what's this money that I'm earning? And if you earn enough, then you can cash out. And that's how a lot of people on our site actually get their first Bitcoin, is just come to the site and playing for fun.
Very cool. So you can actually wager the Bitcoin, or you just play and win Bitcoin?
It's both. So people that don't have any Bitcoin, and a lot of people that go on the internet, a popular Google search is, how do I earn Bitcoin? Are there ways that I can earn it? And those are called faucet sites. And so a lot of those people end up on Gambit and they're like, okay, I can play games, I'm having fun, I'm earning Bitcoin. Other people that actually already have Bitcoin can deposit that Bitcoin, and that becomes part of their balance on the site, and they can wager it against other players. So if they want to actually wager half a Bitcoin or a tenth of a Bitcoin or even a millionth of a Bitcoin, you can do that on the site. And over time, those games can add up, and if you make money, you withdraw at any point you want.
So naturally, the first question that I think is, are we gambling with Bitcoin here?
Right.
Is this legal?
Right. Yeah, it's a very common question. It's people come to the site and say, is this legal? Gambling laws, all that. And we have legal counsel. We make sure that all the games that we add are on the safe side of the skill luck spectrum. So what that means is that courts in the past have found that backgammon specifically as a game and chess are 2 games that you can play, and you can actually make a wager on that game because they're skill-based, and that's not considered gaming or gambling under the law. So all of our games basically follow the same line of thinking that these are skill-based games, and as long as you have enough skill element involved, then technically it's not gambling under the law. So we don't have things like craps and blackjack and those other types of games that you find at a casino, because those would definitely be illegal. But all of our games do have a skill element to them.
Okay, so you have a background in online games, correct?
Correct. I myself was a gamer for many years. I played StarCraft professionally, actually, for a couple of years. Went to Korea and saw the whole scene over there. And I've always been a gamer since I was pretty young. And then in college, I was the chess club president and ran the chess club there. And that kind of parlayed me into running a chess.com for a number of years as well. So I used to build online tournament systems. And so once I got into Bitcoin, I was trying to figure out how can I marry the two, my love for gaming and Bitcoin at the same time. And so this was just kind of a natural fit, given my past.
So why did you decide to create this? Was it mostly just a business opportunity, or you wanted something fun to do with Bitcoin? Or?
Right. So when I first got into Bitcoin, I was looking at, this is a brand new world, new opportunity. I thought it was going to really revolutionize the way that a lot of online companies operated, how you can internationalize your site kind of on day one and target, the whole world with this Bitcoin currency. And having run chess, I know the headaches and hurdles on the technology side of things and trying to accept credit cards, how to accept PayPal internationally. Then you have credit card chargebacks and fraud. So the gears really started churning, and I thought, I saw Satoshi Dice, which was one of the largest online gambling sites with Bitcoin. And it wasn't so much that Satoshi Dice was something that I wanted to do, but what really excited me about it was that you could go onto a site and you could make wagers, and you could do all that without ever putting in your email, without ever putting in a password, a username. You didn't have to give them any personal information, no credit card information whatsoever, and you could be betting on things and receiving payments. And I thought that was really amazing, given current days where people are so afraid to give out personal information on the internet. And so I thought, it would be really cool if you could play other games like that that were a little bit more rewarding in experience in terms of your interaction. And so I immediately thought of board games that I grew up playing and loving, and Monopoly came to mind. And I thought, what if you could play Monopoly with real money, and like buying Boardwalk actually cost you like 4 Bitcoins or something like that, And so that's kind of where the thought process started. And that morphed into what if we could just play any game and you could make wagers on it or you could earn Bitcoins doing that. And so it kind of started with inspiration from sites like Satoshi Dice and just trying to figure out how to apply Bitcoins to other classic models like Pogo.com and a gaming platform.
For sure. So let's talk about chess.com a little bit.
Sure.
Are you still involved with chess.com? Are you still working on it?
Technically, I'm an advisor there now at this point. So I was the CTO for 7 years. So I understand a lot of the code and the database and the structure and architecture there. But we have a great team that's taken over. A couple guys that have been there for a number of years have taken over my roles and responsibilities. So at this point, I just go to the company meetups because they're a ton of fun. And my business partner from chess.com is still a really close friend. So we still talk about the business and future plans and all of that. So I have a vested interest in making sure the company continues to succeed. But other than that, on a day-to-day basis, no.
Any plans to accept Bitcoin on chess.com?
We have already, yeah. So after numerous urgings from me to my partner, who maybe is not as bullish as I am on Bitcoin, I said, let's accept Bitcoin. It'll open up new markets in Africa that, historically we've been having a hard time accepting credit card because of the fraud that tends to run from that part of the world. So I said, if we accept Bitcoin, we can accept payments from anywhere without dealing with chargebacks and fraud. And so I think about 2 months ago, you could start buying memberships on chess.com with Bitcoin. And to date, I think they've already sold, close to 2,000 or 2 Bitcoins worth of memberships. So It's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So when did you first get into Bitcoin and how did you hear about it? What got you really excited?
So there was a few old middle school friends of mine that I'd known since 6th grade that I hadn't seen for a number of years. And they called me up one day and they said, hey, why don't you come by? We're working at this house over here that is currently unoccupied and we're working on some ideas. And so I went over there and I'm like, what are you guys working on? They're like, Bitcoin. I'm like, what is that? I'd never heard of it. So this was, I think, January of 2013. And they started showing me things they were working on. They were working on a credit card system that would allow you to buy credit cards with Bitcoin. And so that was kind of the first time I had heard about it. And so that's when I started reading about it. And I think for the next 2 months, all I did was read Bitcoin articles, the pros, the cons. And it was really, really fascinating, and then to learn that the whole thing is created by some guy who's a legend who Satoshi, you don't know if he exists. And so it was almost like a magical fairy tale for a guy who's kind of a tech nerd,
Right.
So that just piqued my interest to the point where I started thinking about how can I get involved. And so my first involvement with Bitcoin was actually with a company called Cointerra. I was the co-founder there. And after a couple months of trying to raise money and finding it very difficult to actually raise money for mining, I decided to focus on the software side of things. And so we've parted ways, but luckily Cointerra is still doing very well.
And Cointerra is a mining hardware manufacturer.
That's right. They're based out of Austin, run by a friend of mine named Ravi, and they were able to pre-sell some of their hardware to help with the funding. And so I don't think they've shipped their first unit yet, but they're very, very close. But yeah, they're one of the apparently they claim to get some of the best speeds per gigahash chip and all of that. So I think they'll be shipping soon, and hopefully their customers will be very happy. So
for sure.
Yeah.
So when you entered into Bitcoin, it was seen a little bit more positively than it was, in the last few years. Mm-hmm. But how have people reacted? Anybody, call you crazy? Or?
Oh yeah, for sure. I've been to a few dinners on occasion. Even with my own family or my next door neighbors, I remember being there as well. And the second you say Bitcoin, you can really tell from the look on their face whether or not they're a believer or like, oh man, it's Dutch tulips all over again.
Right, right.
So. I have friends who work in the finance sector, and some of them it took a long time for them to kind of come around to seeing the advantages and benefits of Bitcoin. But still, a lot of people think it's just another Dutch tulips, that it's just a bunch of craze and it's going to die, and we'll all be laughing about how idiotic we were.
Right. So what about the altcoins and Ripple and all that?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously Bitcoin kind of opened the door and showed us that it's possible to have a ledger that's not controlled by a third party.
Right.
That's accurate. But and now that the door's open, we've got Ripple, which is completely different, and then we've got maybe 30 altcoins with millions of dollars in market cap already.
Yeah. I myself I've just been kind of carefully watching those from the sidelines. I have invested in Bitcoin personally. I have not invested in any altcoins. And I think the biggest reason for that is because the value that I see in Bitcoin is that Bitcoin has developed, I think the best comparison that I read about was written by Eric Voorhees, but he compared that Bitcoin really is two separate things with the same name, that you have Bitcoin with a capital B and Bitcoins with a lowercase b, right? And I think the value that people in the finance industry are starting to finally understand is that Bitcoin creates a international, global, worldwide network where you can send value from point A to point B instantaneously, less than 10 minutes basically, for almost no fees. And there's nothing else in the world that can really do that. So you think this day and age, when you can send a photo to somebody, you can send an email to somebody, you can send a sound bite to somebody, you can send almost anything worldwide instantaneously for no fees. But then you try to send somebody money, and it's like, oh, let me wire that to you. What's your bank's information? It's a $45 fee. It's going to take 3 days to get there. Or it's just a hassle, right, to send money from point A to point B. And so Bitcoin as a protocol, as a network, has really revolutionized that concept. And so then you say, well, how do I participate in that network? And to participate, you have to actually own the units of measurement, which are called Bitcoins, right? And so I think that's where people get confused, is they just say, well, Bitcoins are a currency. Why would anybody want to spend Bitcoins, if they're always going up in value and they're all deflationary? But what they don't understand is this new network, this new protocol that's being created. And so what creates the foundation for that is the mining. You now have millions and millions of dollars worth of hardware that's basically creating the backbone behind the mining and the network that I've been talking about. And you also have adoption by a lot of the merchants out there. And so those two things is what starts to solidify kind of the first comer advantage for Bitcoin, is that you have lots of merchants accepting it, and you have a very solid, stable backbone of miners and machines that are kind of solidifying this backbone. So it makes it very hard for a malicious third party to come in and attack it. I think with the other altcoins, they're so far behind in terms of their adoption. If I wanted to accept altcoins of any kind on my site on Gambit, the APIs are not as mature. There's not as many people that have them. It's a lot harder for me to figure out how to actually accept them. Whereas with Bitcoin, you have Coinbase, which has written a fully functional, very robust API that overnight I can have my programmers, basically create wallets, send payments, track incomings, have callbacks, and all these types of things. And the other altcoins just aren't there yet. And so I think until they've gotten to the point and matured as much as where Bitcoin is at, it's going to be very, very hard to convince people to actually invest money into those altcoins. So I think right now what drives those is speculation, pure speculation, that hopefully Litecoin becomes the next Bitcoin. So if I buy it now, it's going to be worth 100x in a year. And I think that's just pure speculation. I don't think it has the support structure and infrastructure that Bitcoin currently has.
Right. So do you think Bitcoin's going to win this currency race, or it's obviously got a good head start?
It's got a huge head start, and personally, I'm betting on Bitcoin, right? So. I think that from a philosophical, theoretical standpoint, I want any cryptocurrency to succeed, because I'm just a believer in the value add that they bring to the table, and how they really make life a lot easier in a number of ways. So, just building Gambit, it was a lot easier for us to get to where we are accepting Bitcoin than it would have been if we accepted USD. It makes micropayments possible. So if I wanted to pay somebody a millionth of a penny for winning a game, how do I do that? And sending them that millionth of a penny is going to cost me 100 times more than it is just paying them that penny, right? So the fact that you can actually make micropayments and send them those micropayments for zero fees makes Bitcoin, or makes this business model kind of possible.
Right. Not to mention with a gaming site, you have to worry about chargebacks and whatnot.
Right.
So somebody could, use PayPal, and if they win, they keep the money, and then if they lose, they just take it back.
Issue, like a complaint to PayPal. And say, I didn't mean to send it there, right?
Or I didn't, someone else did.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, I think that right now I'm kind of betting on Bitcoin. It's not that much different, though. I look at eBay back in the day. They were kind of the first mover in that space, and once they reached critical mass, it became very, very hard to somebody else to enter into the auction space, right? Because that's where the buyers and that's where the sellers went, right? So I'm not saying it's not possible, but for now it looks like Bitcoin's got a huge head start.
Oh, for sure. And there's also a good chance that Bitcoin kind of shows us proof of concept. Before Bitcoin, there were no real competitors trying to do this. Now we've got 30 or 50 of them.
Right. Well, we've seen that it's not hard to create a cryptocurrency, because we've got the open source code for Bitcoin right in front of us, right? So everybody knows how Bitcoin works because the code is right there for everybody to read. It's not that it's hard to create cryptocurrencies at this point. People have solved the Byzantine generals problem at this point, right? But what's hard is to get all the adoption and to get the infrastructure in place. And that's where, all of the miners that have spent millions of dollars on ASIC chips, that's where it's going to be hard to actually get in and compete with them.
So what challenges does Gambit face accepting digital currencies in online gaming?
Yeah, I think at this point, my biggest concerns are kind of revolve on the tech side, actually. We have not even begun the marketing phase yet for Gambit. So this is probably the first real marketing thing that I've done for the site because I've been so focused on building the technology platform. And I've continually told my team that the biggest challenge for us and the way that we will fail is if technologically we are not ready when the traffic really starts to ramp up. So people, when they come to the site, because there's real money involved or Bitpoints, which equate to Bitcoins, if there's ever a sense that the site is unstable or the site is crashing, they instantly think my money is not safe here. There's no way I'm going to deposit Bitcoins on a site where they seem to be up and down all the time, or they've lost my money. So I've got to be 100% on top of making sure the platform is completely reliable, completely bug-free, completely stable. So that really is the biggest challenge for Gambit. And I continue to reiterate that to my team. And what's weird with Gambit is because it's a multiplayer gaming platform, it's not like most sites where you can kind of trickle traffic and people can get a taste of what you're offering and still have an enjoyable experience. At Gambit, the biggest problem we have on the site right now is that people have to wait a long time to find a game. They love the games, they love the idea of it, they love playing, but then they'll go on, they'll be like, well, I'm trying to play a 200 Bitcoins buy-in game of Bitnopoly or OSHIP or whatever. That's with a P, OSHIP. And they'll sit there and they'll wait for 5 to 10 minutes to find a game because our traffic is fairly low. And that really, really hurts the user experience. But I can't solve that problem until I know that the platform is 100% stable and reliable. And so until that time, I've told my users, sorry about that, be patient. I'm trying to get ready, but then we'll do a big marketing push and that should fix that problem. But when you come to a site, on internet time, waiting 50 seconds feels like an hour, so. People want to go there and they want to find a game instantaneously, and so that's really our biggest problem right now.
If anything goes wrong, it's like catastrophic
when
it comes to money, because it's
that's
like dollars. Right. You just tell your bank, you're like, yeah, we didn't mean to send 60,000 that account, and they're like, okay.
Right.
But with Bitcoin, you're like, we're fucked.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, initially what we had planned on doing was accepting. Initially, we planned on having all of our games work directly with wallets so that you could do anonymous gaming. So that if you wanted to start a game, you sent your money to a wallet, the other person sent that money to a wallet, then the game started, and then when the game ended, it automatically sent that money to another wallet. Unfortunately, 10 minutes feels like an eternity, And so if Bitcoin, this was one of the advantages that I saw with the Ripple currency, was that the Ripple currency, when you use their things or their APIs, it is instantaneous, So that 10-minute wait time feels like an eternity in the form of gaming, especially if you're buying a property in Bitnopoly. You want to buy Boardwalk, send Bitcoins to this wallet, it's yours, and then they're like both players sitting around waiting for 10 minutes for the money to show up. So we changed that whole model to use a point-based system. So now you have to deposit your Bitcoins into a wallet, you get points, and those points are simply a number in a database. And so those we can move around very quickly. But it also allows us to be more secure on the site, because rather than me running the risk of accidentally sending the wrong Bitcoins or accepting it wrong or something like that, I can look at the ledger of where the points have gone, where they've come from, and I can move those points around a lot quicker. And when anytime somebody wants to move those points back out into Bitcoin, I can do a manual kind of verification process to make sure they haven't been scheming the site with multiple accounts, bots, all that type of stuff. And so we have had a lot of people on the site try to game it by creating lots of multiple accounts, because every time you create an account on the site, you get a free number of points. So people come on, they create like 50 different accounts, and they play against each other to build up their pot, and then they try to withdraw. And it takes me about 15 seconds to spot that they've been gaming the system, and I just zero out their balance since that's in our terms of service. So.
Right, and naturally, as soon as you do anything with money on the internet, people are going to try and cheat it.
Oh,
it's inevitable.
I mean, all the reviews that we have had on all of the Bitcoin sites have almost all been negative, because people that love the site don't feel like they need to go post about it. They just play and they just love it, right? But anytime somebody spends 2 weeks gaming the system to try to build up the necessary amount of points to withdraw it, and then I go and I look and I say, okay, these are all the same email address with one number changed. You've clearly just been playing against your own free accounts, and I zero out their balance. Man, they rush to those Bitcoin scam sites, and they're like, oh, Gambit, it's such a scam site, And so then I have to encourage my other users who are legitimate to say, hey, please go reply to this and say, hey, we're a legitimate site.
So can Gambit be used as a wallet? Do people just send their Bitcoins in for while they're playing, or do people leave them in there long term?
The people actually do leave them in long term. Usually the pattern of behavior that I've seen is that people will deposit, they'll play, they'll build it up, maybe they'll double their Bitpoints, and they'll withdraw half of it and leave half of it in so they can continue gaming. So the people that are winning consistently because they're very good players, they tend to withdraw small amounts just to kind of verify that, yes, I can get my money out. They want to feel that warm, fuzzy feeling that I can get my money out, right? And so it's very important that I process those withdrawals in a timely manner. So we have like a guaranteed 24-hour withdrawal window where I say you will get your money within 24 hours. On the security side, we use Coinbase for all of our storage, right? So people that kind of worry about, well, there's been so many sites out there that have been hacked and have lost all of their Bitcoins. Right. What happens if somebody comes and steals all of Gambit's Bitcoins tomorrow? How am I ever going to get my money out? And the simple answer is we use the best, most secure site out there for our storage, which is Coinbase. You know, they use a lot of offline storage. So when a user sends Bitcoins to Gambit, it actually goes into a Coinbase wallet. And when people want to withdraw, it comes out of that Coinbase wallet to their account. So we never actually hold the Bitcoins, which makes us feel very good and easy to sleep at night.
Oh, for sure. Don't go after Jay. Go after Mark Andreessen.
That's right. They're a much bigger target.
Right,
so,
right.
If Coinbase ever gets hacked and they lose all their Bitcoins, then I think we're in for a real shock, and the price of Bitcoin will tank.
I was gonna say it'll be cheap to buy them back.
That's right. That's right. Hopefully Coinbase is solid, and we don't ever see a big hack. And
for sure,
I have all of my faith in them. That's where I keep my storage. I think that if you're going to buy and sell Bitcoin, I think that's probably the best place to go at this point as far as a U.S.-based wallet storage is concerned.
Oh, for sure.
So
cool. Well, thank you, Jay.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Coming on the show. For more information on Gambit or anything else we talked about on today's show, check out the notes at moneyandtech.com.